Hi, welcome to our channel.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for tuning in. Um, if you like what we have to say, please hit the like button and share our information. Ken's and I, Dr. K and I are here to talk about um, sovereignty. And we're here to talk about what that means in a multidimensional approach to life, how that manifests, what that looks like. So today we were doing a little bit of organizing and talking about what we wanted to talk about. And we're both American state nationals, and we are trying to grow people's involvement in exploring their sovereignty by getting involved locally in the American government in the way that was originally intended, by being active locally and not thinking that a group of people far away are going to save us. We
Mhm.
have to be actively involved in our local communities, being aware of what is happening and making our voices heard based on the decisions we make, based on the research we do, and on what we believe to be true and good in such a way that is peaceful, that is ethical, that is conscious. And so we talk about this in a multidimensional way, meaning the third dimension, the physical dimension that we're actively involved in, that looks like going to meetings, that looks like what you choose to do with your finances, that looks like how you interact with the people that live in your neighborhood, with your cities and towns and the states that you live on. You don't live in them, you live on them because we are firmly rooted in land and soil. That's a jurisdiction rather than the jurisdiction of an incorporation that is fictitious, which is why we call our government the de jure government. It's the original government, and their government, the de facto government. Yes, we originally created them, but we created them to do a very limited amount of jobs for us that we needed done. And so, over the course of a few hundred years, they've run amok. Now, there are lots of patriots out there. Kenzie and I were talking about the fact that there are lots of patriots out there really interested in sovereignty, really interested in not being controlled and having more of a say in what happens with their children at school and having more of a say what happens with them in the places they go to work. And they are perceiving what is happening in the real world, the physical world, the third dimension. Many of them are perceiving the whole situation with the election of Trump as sort of there's a bit of a savior complex. We have on one end savior complex and on the other end Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah,
And
right.
so we're trying to not come from either end. Um, we are interested in working with patriots, but it's critical. It is critical to comprehend that anytime you think anyone is swooping in to save you, chances are you got to give up a little bit of yourself in order for their plan to work. And how much is their plan working for you? So we were hoping to talk about that. And the way that I brought it to Kenzie's attention is to say that recently, we've been trying to um, more accurately form and more coherently form our pillars for the state national government. Um, in doing so, I am interested in the orientation committee and to assisting people to deprogram from the reality that they were taught is real in the school system that they attended and in the world that they have consumed via their televisions and the news media outlet. We're trying to deprogram people, and by that, we're talking about enslavement mentality that believes in someone swooping in and saving them. Not that we're not, I'm talking about Trump and I'm talking about politicians right now. Not talking about spiritual saving. But even that we could talk about at some point. So, um, I did a little bit of research. I was looking at the American State National webpage, and I was noticing the notices, and that how in one of the first notices for 2024 is dated October 2nd, in which Anna acknowledges what people have been saying all along that Trump has done in his first administration, that he was going to end the corporation, end the incorporated government, the fake government, the de facto government. And so she's acknowledging that he did that. And as of October 1st, they're no longer um uh that they basically have timed out, right? That their contracts have timed out and that we are now reverted to the republic, in which case we have to figure out how to work together. We have to really figure out how to deprogram what we were programmed with by the de facto, by these ideas that there's somebody that's going to save us and that we actually have to listen to them and that they are our lords, right? That they're in charge of us and they get to decide what happens. We had to take that power back. We have to take that power back by deprogramming. So we had a lot of ideas about how to do that. But basically, we're suggesting that people go online, find their state coordinators, connect with their states groups, their states assemblies, and then begin exploring and reading the thousands of documents that are online, talking to their local assembly, the people in their local assemblies, to figure out where to begin to file the paperwork that truly gets them out. Because even though the government might be defunct, none of their agents are functioning in that way. They're all still functioning as if they have authority over us. We see that with the mandates, we see that with the rules and regulations, and we're in the process now of watching perhaps the convergence of, is this truly what has happened? Is the Republican government, right? The Republic
Uh-huh.
in play? Are they now listening to the people? Do they comprehend that we are their bosses? That we say what happens, that each and every state is a nation state in and of itself, and that the people within that state decide what happens to them because they're free and they're sovereign. So there's a lot happening, and a lot is gonna happen in the course of what? Can this happen in a couple months? Can all of the American people truly comprehend how they've been hoodwinked through generations? What that truly means about where they stand and what their responsibilities are. We're gonna have to see. But is there anything that you want to say about that, Kenz? I was excited to talk about this, and you did a little bit more talking before we hit record. But is there anything that you want to share about this or what you
Well,
think?
I mean, like you said, that savior complex, that's a real thing. And that's just more of the same old programming. That's the reason why these crazy agents have gone so far off the rails. It's because the accountability factor hasn't been there because people have given up their authority. They've stepped back and let, oh, my elected official will take care of it. Oh, my advisor will give me the correct information. Oh,
Mhm.
my accountant will handle all of my finances. I don't need to know that. I don't need to be involved with it. I don't need to overlook it. I'm not I'm not good enough in that area. Sorry, but we're at a point where people need to educate themselves so that they are informed in all of the areas, not this whole specialization thing, that's been a part of the mind blight that has happened to people over the last 100 or so years, convincing people that, "Oh, you're not qualified." Well, you know what? If you're not qualified, then first of all, that I just wanna say that because this is what I tell people. "Really? So then don't be a hypocrite. Who are you if you're not qualified to have a child because you're not an early childhood educator, then what business do you have even birthing a child, you're not qualified. If you're not a chef, if you haven't been trained in culinary arts, you're not
Mhm.
qualified to make meals. It's like it's absurd. And that
Right.
that is how we have allowed ourselves to fall into this programming to give up our authority because we're not qualified. BS.
So
We're
there's something
qualified with a brain
there's
and a
something
willingness.
here. There's something here that I think is important for those of us who are wanting people to take a more active role, to be able to sit down and really digest this information and not be so overwhelmed by it that they can't get out of bed, and not be so overwhelmed with which direction to go in. There is something I was sharing with Kenzie before we started recording that I had been listening to some Dr. Jack Kruse information. He's a neurosurgeon and he knows an awful lot about the brain. And he is getting, towards the end of his career. But he has been not just a brain surgeon, but a researcher and really brilliant, a little rough around the edges, but brilliant. And he was sharing information about the fact that there has been not just a systematic usurpment of our sovereignty and our power, but the way that that has happened, the way that there's a connection between all of the systems out there, they have been working together for decades
Mhm,
to dumb down people, and that a lot of that dumbing down occurs via blue light. So all of the reason that iridescent lights have been outlawed in many, many, many states, they don't manufacture them anymore. They only manufacture blue light, right? The LEDs, because it's blue light, because that actually has an effect on the brain of dumbing people down. So all of the tech giants he was sharing in this video, 4.5 hour video that I was listening to yesterday while I was multitasking, completely fascinated and had a ton of like, holy crap,
mhm,
moments to understand the connections between the tech industry, the medical pharmaca, and the political arena, all coming from that fake de facto place of attempting to dumb down the population by exposing children to this blue light, by exposing people and all the tech giants who have come down with turbo cancers. And then the increase of it after, guess what? Right? So that reality absolutely exists, and that the remedy for that is frickin' sunlight. Take off the sunglasses. Stop putting the chemical sunscreen on your body. Look at the sun when the sun comes up. Begin sun gazing. Look into it so that you're not hurting yourself. There's a way for you to amp up to get used to being able to look at the sun in such a way that doesn't give you blindness, right? That immediate blindness. It is critical for us to get sunlight on our skin, to have it in our eyes. He has moved to a place where he can live without walls to his house because he so wants the sun on his body, because that actually gives the human body the ability to regenerate cells, to heal itself from illness. He utilizes red light therapy in his operating room and has for years.
mhm,
He's brilliant, but we are experiencing the result in the American people who are more pliant, who are more, the pliant isn't the word I'm looking for, uh, who don't
conditioned,
resist. I'm sorry?
conditioned.
They're conditioned,
They
but
are conditioned.
they don't question what the news media tells them. They don't question what their doctor tells them. They don't question things. So I feel like there's a group of us, or there is a certain amount of the population for some reason that's a little bit more resilient. And it's because, where else was I just hearing this? I was hearing this in a Michael Salla. Michael Salla was interviewing um, Peter Maxwell Slatery, and they were talking about the ability of the body that there's a certain percentage of people who have ET experiences whose bodies have more creatine naturally in their bodies, and creatine is connected. Jack Cruz was saying this, that our ability to regenerate has to do with the amount of light that exists in our bodies, and that our bodies actually create light at a like on a cellular level within the mitochondria. The mitochondria are um, turning proteins into light, and that people who have more light are more resilient. And so people who have experiences, I'm putting this together. Neither of them said this because Jack Cruz doesn't ever talk about, I
Oh,
haven't heard him talking about ET anything. But that's Peter Maxwell Slatery is it's all about, it's coming from that perspective. But there is something too, if there's a way for us to not get frustrated with people who don't get it, to comprehend that generations of humans on the planet have been exposed to the kind of tech and the kind of lighting that's all around our neighborhoods, that's
mhm,
everywhere in our televisions, it now in our light fixtures, designed to dumb us down and
mhm,
make us numb and make us not think. So there is an insidiousness to the de facto that we now, it's crucial for people who are patriots to comprehend the difference, to get themselves enough out of the matrix, out of that thinking, to be involved locally in such a way. I know there's a lot of patriot groups out there, but we got to figure out how to work together.
right.
And if it is true that our government is the original republic now, then they are obligated under law, under common law, under our constitutional law to listen to us, which is why so many of the patriot groups are talking about we the people, right? Because it is we.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
so
we're
right.
we're we're a planet, right? We're a
Yeah.
planet. Sorry.
So the best thing then is just calling all patriots, please reach out to the assemblies because at least we are an organized structure that has connection to the federation essentially. Because remember, the three original forms of government are not the executive, the judicial, and the what's the other one? Congressional legislative branch. The
Yeah.
three original branches of government are the union, which is each and every organic state, the federation, which is all of each of those organic states, and the confederation. And so we need to come back together. We are the union, the sitting
Yeah.
on every organic sitting on every organic state is an assembly, which is the union recognized and coming together as a big group as the federation. So come to our meetings, come talk to us.
Yeah, and this
We're
is
up.
happening everywhere. This is really happening everywhere.
Mhm.
It's happening in African states, right?
Oh yeah,
Nations.
South Africa has
It's
been pretty.
happening in Australia. It's happening in South America. It's happening in Central America. People are really coming together and truly making the connection between their inability to move freely and be happy and be healthy
Right.
and have the government listen to them instead of dictating, mandating, and enslaving people. That is not how we were created by the Creator to exist. We are meant to be free. We are created in the Creator's image. And we are one people on the planet sick of enslavement.
Okay.
So reach out, ask for mentorship, ask for guidance, go to your local meetings, find out how they're meeting locally, and ask us questions in the chat. I mean, in the in the Q&A, or make your comments. We would love to know what you're thinking, and if you have questions that we can answer, we would love to answer them. or direct you in let you know that we can't, or direct you to who might be able to. So thank you for attending. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.